Hi everyone and welcome to week 3. Once again, as I was reviewing your post for last week, I thought you did a really good job and had some interesting discussions. And I also noticed that a few of you are doing particularly good at keeping up with your own posts, so responding when other people post on your post, so I think that's great and keep it up. Just a quick follow-up to the reactive attachment disorders post. I wanted to just make sure that everyone saw my comment on Sarah's post. The people who were involved in Beth's attachment therapy were actually part of the same group that killed a child while administering one of the aspects of attachment therapy. And so I post some resources there, and I think it just really highlights the importance of really thinking critically about the treatment options. In terms of tests, your Chapter 6 test scores looked really good. On Chapter 8, there were a number of people who got the theory of mind question wrong. So theory of mind tasks require that a child is able to take another person's perspective. So the correct answer to that question was perspective taking. However, many people put joint attention, which is an indicator that children have theory of mind because they understand that what they see is not necessarily the same as what others see. However, since so many people got these two mixed up, I gave you credit for either one. This week, in addition to your normal coursework, you have your first final paper assignment due. Your final paper outline is due. Now, information about your final paper is available up at the top section of Moodle, here under final paper information. And this includes APA guidelines here if you're not familiar with APA format. This is the final paper grading rubric, which looks like this. So you'll need to make sure that your final paper addresses each of these points. And in your paper, I expect you to have a subheading for each of these first 5 points. Remember that the paper is supposed to describe a real or fictional case study, if it's real you should change names, involving a child's psychological disorder, and your goal is to be presenting this case from a developmental psychopathology perspective. Now, I just want to note that for this paper, you're not required to have an external source because this is such a condensed course, but I'd encourage you to add them if you find relevant sources. But if you do, be sure to keep them academic, preferably peer-reviewed journal articles. The kind of sources that I accept in the discussion forum aren't acceptable for a formal paper like this. So in terms of what will go into your paper, in the introduction section, you'll describe the basics of the case and what disorder they have, including diagnostic criteria. Next, you'll talk about the assessment and diagnosis in that case in particular, why this diagnosis fits them, what the process of assessment was. Then you'll talk about the etiology, or the theories or factors that explain the development of the disorder. Next will be a discussion of the proposed, if it's fictional or real, treatment options or plans. And then finally, you'll discuss the individual's real or expected long-term outcomes and come to some general conclusions. Now, for the outline that's due on Sunday, you can do this in bullet point form. However, you need to make your notes in full sentences so I can understand them and give you feedback. That is the purpose of you turning in the outline. So if you just give me one-word responses to each point, it's not really enough for me to know what you're planning to say. In the outline, you should have each section listed and make sure you address every question that's in this rubric within each section. And in your outline, you should also be very sure to list the information that you're going to provide in the paper, not just tell me you're going to provide it. So say things like, this individual is at heightened risk for reactive attachment disorder because she was abused as a child and doesn't have any other stable attachment figures, rather than just saying, I'm going to list risk factors for reactive attachment disorder. So you will submit your outline under week 3, right here in the final paper outline. Submit it as a Word or a PDF format, preferably. This week, in terms of content, what we're covering is externalizing disorders. So in Chapter 9, we'll be talking about ADHD, and your discussion forum will focus on the importance of gender differences in various aspects of ADHD. And then in Chapter 10, we'll talk about oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorders. For this chapter's discussion, You'll listen to a radio interview that's about 16 minutes long from the parent of a child with extreme externalizing behavior. And what I want you to do when you listen to this is think about some of the complexities of this case and conduct disorder in general. Um, so I've got a couple of questions listed here. And then, of course, for each chapter, you'll have one test. And that's it for this week. So as usual, please contact me if you have any questions, and have a great week.